Hey guys, welcome back to Grim Productions, and today I'm going to be doing a video on how I think Spirit Halloween or any other company in general can make Halloween animatronics scary yet again. Now, if you don't know what I'm exactly talking about, I'm sure if you're part of the Haunter community, you've heard multiple complaints and just different things about how people don't think animatronics or Halloween animatronics are that scary anymore, especially compared to how they used to be back then. Such as, for example, like very gruesome props from maybe 2012 or something, 2014 from Spirit Halloween and other companies. And compared to now, which a lot of people are now referring to these things as big toys, big Happy Meal toys, etc., just big expensive things for kids. And I kind of agree with that, actually, because I have multiple stories that I'll probably mention in this video, and I actually made a video about this last year around the same time, and I want to go ahead and do it again, because my case still stands. I still feel like it's the same way, and yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and get into what I think Spirit Halloween can do to make their animatronics scary yet again. So for starters, I'm actually going to bring up Monty in this one, who, if you don't know, is a new animatronic for 2022, which I'm assuming most of y'all, do know this, of course. But I'm going to bring him up because I feel like Monty was a very, very close call to actually being a really, genuinely, scary and creepy prop. Now, the reason why I say this is because Monty, and along with multiple other animatronics on this list, take this turn into the uncanny valley kind of side of things as far as horror goes. And I feel like here recently in this modern, generation or whatever, the uncanniness of something is kind of what makes things scary nowadays. The, blood, guts, and all that kind of gross stuff is still, something that people might be grossed about, but that's just gross out horror. I don't really necessarily think that's going to make them scared of something. I just think the uncanniness of a character is what can make something actually scary. And I feel like that's just how it is nowadays, especially with franchises like Five Nights at Freddy's out, or just other multiple different things. Something that looks innocent and then is turned completely just the opposite way is very, very creepy. And I feel like Monty was a good start at this, but he was just a little off with the animation wise, but his look was really, really good and kind of creepy. Monty was actually the first animatronic that I've seen in a while that kids have actually been kind of scared to go up to, at least in my local stores, which I haven't seen that in such a long time, that kids were actually afraid to go up to an animatronic. They didn't trust it, which is kind of what you want in a haunt, at least. And as I was thinking about this, I was thinking, what made him scarier than some of the other animatronics that kids didn't want to go up to, or that they would go up to, sorry. And I was kind of thinking, well, what is Monty? He is a toy. He is supposed to be a innocent little monkey toy, whatever they're called, but turned more into a creepy fashion. And I was kind of looking into this, and I was thinking into this exactly, what are people afraid of nowadays? And it's kind of is more of the things that you don't expect to be scary, but yet they are. And I feel like this can be the new way of how Spirit Halloween can make their animatronics scary. And today I'll be going through a couple other examples. This next example is actually of Betty Sharp, another animatronic that I feel like was so close to getting to that uncanny valley feeling, but missed the mark kind of a decent bit. Now, the reason why I put her on this list is because I feel like for some part of her, she is very, very creepy looking. Her face is very eerie. It's almost like it's just in this cold stare, and it's just very, it has a very uncanny feeling to it. She looks like she could be a normal little girl, but there's obviously something off, and it's just, you can tell by the look on her face. Of course, though, like I said, they missed the mark a little bit just on this animatronic in general, but I do feel like if they were to just add something to it, I don't exactly know what, but they were just to add something to it, I feel like they really could have gotten that feeling or the uncanny look down, and they could have really just made this a really creepy prop. And in general, I think this is already kind of a creepy prop for some people, but I feel like I said, they're just to add some other element to it, maybe just a little bit more detailing or something like that, just to really make it look more human. Then I guess they would really have a really good animatronic. And my last example for the uncanny kind of, monsters or characters is actually from last year, and this is Henry Hustle. Now, Henry Hustle is probably my favorite clown prop of all time, him or Bloody Bag of Jokes for sure. He's actually my only clown in my collection that I have, and I really, really like Henry Hustle. And the reason that I do like him that much is because he's just such an uncanny clown, and it just, his innocent face, especially like the face that you first see, is just very, very eerie. And in my opinion, it's scarier than like the monster head that he has. And I think it's just because it's so eerie and just you can't really like trust the look on his face. And I absolutely love that. And in my opinion, I kind of wish that they would have just kept like the face, like the normal face, and have like no jump scare, because there's just something very, very off-putting about this face. Now, I do love the jump scare. I think it's an incredible jump scare, and the face does look really cool, but I feel like just this face alone, if you were to have this in like a static position or something, or turned off, it would definitely, you know, like people wouldn't trust to go near this thing because it looks like it's gonna do something. And I feel like just having that effect already work is such a good like aspect of an animatronic. Like they don't even want to get near it. And kind of going back to like Betty Sharp though, and Monty, I feel like something else could have been added to his design just slightly, but overall I do think Henry Hustle is a good example of an uncanny prop. And I think that this is definitely a really good way that Spirit Halloween can market scary props without making them gruesome or bloody. Now, as far as props that aren't necessarily uncanny go, I feel like a good example for this year or for modern times is actually Lord Raven, because he's just a very like intimidating animatronic. He's not exactly one that I feel like a lot of people are going to be very, very scared of, but he's definitely like intimidating and sends some like red flags and signals, and it's definitely going to make people not want to go near him. And I just overall feel like he's very, very cool, and even though he's not the most scariest, like I said, I do still feel like he kind of crosses that line of being genuinely creepy and scary. I just feel like there's a lot of things about him that do work. And I think the reason this is because you don't actually know like what he is exactly. He can be a mixture of a lot of things. He can, you know, looks like a bird, right? But like he can also be like some kind of plague doctor, some kind of monster. Like you really don't know what he is until you get up like right next to him. And I feel like that kind of lets the customer's mind do some of the thinking and working as far as like what am I looking at exactly. They can kind of just imagine a lot of scary things already. That's like if you were to go to a haunted house or something and you were to look at the facade of the haunted house and it looks intimidating and scary, your mind is already going to be thinking of a lot of things like what's in there, I don't want to go in there kind of thing. And I feel like that's the same way that these animatronics can work. If they just look creepy and just very unsettling and just something that doesn't look natural, I feel like the customer can already do a lot. But with these clowns, and I'm going to be using clowns for an example here, and I don't mean like all of the clowns, but mainly like the SVI ones, they are very like jumpy in your face, gonna kind of like scream at you, gonna talk to you kind of thing. And I feel like it doesn't necessarily let the mind sort of think about what like the character is going to do. And I'm gonna go back to Raven for this one, and his phrases especially. His phrases I feel like kind of lead a lot of like suspension. Like you don't exactly know what he's talking about whenever he says some of these things that he says about like the forest he lives in or something. And it just like leaves a lot of, you know, worriness and like suspension to make a scary animatronic. And I just think overall it's really, really fantastically done, especially with the phrases. And the phrases is such a big thing nowadays of like why these props aren't scary, because a lot of them are just goofy and like, you know, kind of like silly. And I feel like a prop like Raven has excellent phrases. A lot of people agree with this, like that he does have really good phrases, and he does. His phrases are very misleading in some ways, and the voice is generally like creepy. It sounds very just like off-putting. So overall, I do think Raven is a good example of a scary modern day prop without a bunch of blood and gore and inappropriate stuff for younger customers. And I think Spirit Halloween should definitely make more props like him. And kind of going on the same page with the phrases, I feel like Strawman, again this year, is kind of my pattern for the video, is another good example of how to make a good animatronic with good phrases. Strawman, in my opinion, as far as the look goes and the animation, is kind of a good mix of creepy and goofy, or not necessarily goofy, but more just like not as intense of like a scary animatronic. He's not scary, but he's more on the line of creepy. And I think it works well with Scarecrows. Scarecrows I feel like should be more creepy than scary. Unless it's a jump scare prop, then go all out with the scariness. But as for Strawman goes, I feel like the voices definitely add a lot to him. The voice is very like just soft in a very eerie way. And the phrases are again very like suspenseful. Like they make you think about what he's going to do, what happened. And I just think overall he is a very, again, misleading animatronic. He looks like you can't really trust him. And I just feel like that's kind of what Spirit Halloween should do with these props that aren't necessarily jump scare props. They need to either make them like uncanny looking, like they're supposed to be innocent, but you know there's just something really off about them, or they need to make them something that doesn't necessarily exist, like a clown, that you have to kind of think about it. I feel like having the customer think about it makes it scarier. Like they think about, okay, what can this character exactly do to me? And, you know, how is it going to scare me kind of thing. I just think that's a very good way of making an animatronic scary. Now, as for jump scares go, with props that are designed to like actually jump out and scare you, I feel like with these, it's a little bit different. Now, I'm going to be using the Widow here for an example of how to and how to not do a good jump scare prop, along with this Grim Reaper that, you know, companies have been selling for so many years now. The Widow is a very fast prop. She doesn't talk, right? And she just immediately does her jump scare. I think that can honestly scare a lot of people. This Grim Reaper, on the other hand, along with many other props, many other props, especially modern day ones, and this exact statement that I'm about to say has been said by so many other people, they take forever to do the jump scare. And I know like I said, this statement has been said so many times, but I just feel like what Spirit should do is just don't make them say anything. If they're a jump scare prop, don't have them talk. And most jump scare props don't even have mouth movement anyway, so it'll probably be better if they just don't talk. Like, I feel like a laugh is enough. The Widow's a good example of this. She just has like a scream, the noise of her, you know, breaking neck, and then she laughs as she retracts. I just feel like that's a good, you know, way of doing this. Mr. Dark is also a good example. He does the same thing. He doesn't talk until he's retracting back down. He just does the jump scare first, because that's what people are going to see. They're going to see the jump scare because that's, you know, what's going to happen first instead of just the talking. So basically, with these jump scare props, just no talking audio whatsoever. There shouldn't be any kind of phrasing beforehand before the jump scare happens. Now, as far as the retracting goes, like I said, depending on what kind of jump scare prop it is, like Mr. Dark or Jack Straw or Dahlia, then yeah, you're going to want to add some kind of phrasing or just something in there to kind of fill in that long, slow retraction time that is usually a very loud motor, just to kind of fill that in so it doesn't break any immersion of the character. A prop like the Widow doesn't really need it though, since her retraction is pretty short, although I do like that they added her laugh track anyways, because it is a very creepy laugh track. So like I said, these jump scare props do not need any kind of audio because it's just not needed, right? You want to get these jump scare props to scare people, not to talk to them, kind of thing. And for the props that don't do any jump scares, they need to be a lot more detailed too. I know I didn't bring this up with any of the other ones, but a lot of the props nowadays I just feel like don't have the same level of detail like they used to. And I feel like if all a prop is going to do is turn side to side with the torso and talk and be around $300, it definitely needs to have a pretty good level of detail to it. Like you know how it used to back in the day. I feel like the props back then had so much detail compared to now, where they kind of just look like you just threw a Halloween costume over a robot body, which is kind of exactly what it is. And I'm not trying to, you know, down any of the work of the, you know, people who do the sculpting for these props, but I do feel like just for the price of them, and especially of the ones that all they do is talk, they need to have another element to them, something to make them look interesting. As far as jump scares go, I think the only purpose with them is to look scary but have a really good jump scare, and boom, that's how you make a good jump scare prop. And of course, you know, good motors and stuff like that. But with a talking animatronic, just make it look good. Anyways, guys, that'll do it for this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I know today was a very long video, a lot longer than what I usually do, but I haven't really been uploading recently just due to school and how busy it's been, so I kind of feel like this is a good way of kind of making that up, just making a long video. Also, I might be doing a live stream at a local Spirit Halloween store sometime soon, hopefully early September, or just maybe even later this week. I'm not entirely too sure, but just stay tuned for that. Anyways, guys, please tell me down below in the comments what you feel about this video, and tell me if you agree with my opinions or if you have anything else different. Anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.